Day Vincentius. On behalf of my co-students in college, to the greatest extent, we would like to thank St. Vincent de Ferrer College for giving this opportunity to be the host of English Month program. Please accept our appreciation to our upright and reputable President and Chairman of the Board, Dr. Cristeta A. Evangelio. Our enthusiastic Vice President for Academic Affairs, Ma'am Elenita B. Javier. And our coherent Vice President for Admin and Finance, Sir Jose Marie J. Javier. Our very talented School Comptroller and Extracurricular Activities Coordinator, Sir Daniel A. Bunag. And of course, our College Dean Institute of Education with an outstanding resilience, Dr. Peter G. Young Jr. Once again, thank you very much.
We also want to give recognition to our dedicated, passionate, and valued coordinators, Ma'am Regina Nora and Ma'am Girly Albero. Again, we sincerely appreciate for letting us to take part in this English Month celebration.
It is truly an exquisite and marvelous day to everyone who is watching this event. We are grateful that you could join us today despite of your hectic schedules. Now let me give you my introduction before we get on. I am Randy Raquel Bojos, sophomore student from Bachelor of Secondary Education, majoring in English.
And I am Noini Bensurdo, a third-year student from Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English. Today, we are all delighted to foregather ourselves to join and eyewitness the virtual English Month celebration with the team Reliving the Past and Embracing the Future through the Philippine Literature.
What an excellent theme! I find myself wondering about the state of Philippine literature, particularly in light of the fact that most of our fellow students these days prioritize using social media over reading books. In addition to that, most of us are not interested in learning what happened in the past and instead preoccupied by the present without taking the future events into account.
Exactly, Randy. That's why this theme of the English Month will help every youth and students to be aware of the rich literature of the Philippines. To start with, may we invite Mr. Matthew Daniel Buted from BSIT for the opening prayer, followed by the national anthem to be conducted by SVFC Voice Club singers.
Let us pray. Dear God, we praise you and we glorify your name as we gather here today to celebrate English Month. We ask for your guidance and blessings upon all our activities. May this month be a time for us to deepen our appreciation and love for the English language and literature. Help us to use this language to express ourselves more clearly, to inspire others, and to build bridges across cultures. We also pray for the administrators, faculty, staffs, and students who will be participating in the various activities of this celebration. May they be filled with enthusiasm and inspiration, and may they experience joy and learning throughout the day. We entrust this celebration to your loving care and guidance. May everything we do bring glory and honor to your name. We pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Now, with much privilege, I'd like to invite everyone to welcome our English professor in SVFC, Dr. Swani O. Fernandez, for the opening remarks.
To our dear President and Chairman of the Board, Dr. Cristeta A. Evangelio, the Vice President for Academic Affairs, Ma'am Elenita B. Javier, the Vice President for Administration and Finance, Sir Jose Marie Javier, to our School Controller and Extracurricular Activities Coordinator, Sir Daniel A. Bunag, to the Dean of Institute of Education, Dr. Peter G. Young Jr., and to our dear students, good day. Today we are once again gathered together to celebrate the English Month with the theme, Reliving the Past and Embracing the Future through Philippine Literature. Philippine literature has a rich history that has shaped our culture and our society. It gives nostalgic feelings and enjoyment to re-examine the qualities, tragedies, and inspiration of the beautiful Filipino poems, stories, essays, and play. Going over them is a very wonderful experience. It enables us to magnify our appreciation of literary selections and see the role they play in our society and even grow and evolve through our literary journey. So the English department of SVFC offers you beautiful and worthwhile performances and entertaining activities. Some of these offerings are the most awaited Mr. and Miss Philip, the evolution of Philippine literature, the talking heads, and saying rich folks. Reliving the past and embracing the future through Philippine literature serves as a reminder of our Filipino heritage, honor our roots, and teach us about the past, help us understand the present, and empower us to create a better future. I welcome you all, my dear students and colleagues. May you enjoy and learn. Thank you very much and welcome to the SVFC 2023 English Month celebration.
Thank you so much, Dr. Swani O. Fernandez, for that awe-inspiring remark. At this juncture, we are aware that our audience is eager to see what the committee at the College English Department have organized.
We will be stand by the different entries of each groups and solo performances such as Mr. and Miss Philip, Sing with Fox, the evolution of Philippine literature, the talking heads, the hero-heroine poems.
Our first contestant for Mr. Philip came from freshman of Bachelor of Public Administration. Please welcome Mr. John Barbosa as Crisostomo Ibarra. Let's watch this.
I have had better thoughts, and I believe that making my father's wishes come true is worth more than weeping for him, and much more than avenging him. I am Juan Crisostomo Ibarra. I spent 7 years in Europe to study and explore. I came back to my hometown, San Diego, only to face numerous obstacles from the local figures implicated in a revolt. To seek justice for my father's death, Don Rafael Ibarra. Our country is raised by violence, injustices, and indirection. I believe in the power of building an education to enact reforms and made efforts to establish a school in San Diego to this end. We have a goal in our country for those dreamers, youths, justice, violence, killings, and those friars to place what is right. A sense of peace is a meaning to start our new coming ages. I love my country because I owe it, and my happiness will be a debt. To open our minds and to start where it begins, to know how it will end, to know the story of Noli Me Tangere.
That portrayal brought me to the story of Noli Me Tangere. Now for our second and last contestant of Mr. Philip, let's watch Mr. Randy Bohos from BSc English as he portrayed Marcelo H. Del Pilar with the pen name Plaridel.
Insurrection is the best remedy, especially when people have acquired the belief that peaceful means to secure, that remedies of evil prove futile. So let us shout, let us protest, for the justice and the reason is in our side. I am Marcelo Hilario del Pilar E. Gatmetan, commonly known as Marcelo H. Del Pilar, with my pen name, Plaridel. I was a Filipino writer, a lawyer, a journalist, and Freemason. Along with Jose Rizal and Graciano Lopez Haina, I become known as one of the leaders of Reform movement in Spain. Good day everyone, my name is Randy Racalbojo, second year college and Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English, a candidate for Mr. Philippine Literature 2023. Thank you.
Congratulations in advance to our Mr. Philip contestants. You all had great portrayal of those famous people in our past. Let's move on to our next category, Miss Philip. Our first contender came from BSE Filipino, and she is portraying the goddess Moon and Night in our Philippine mythology. Let's watch Miss Crizel Rental as Mayari.
Hi, my name is Crizel Estrenta from 3rd year BSL Major in Filipino, representing Mayari, the goddess of moon and the ruler of the world during nighttime. is the goddess of combat, war, revolution, hunt, weaponry, beauty, strength, moon, and night. Mayari is the daughter of Bathala, who was the supreme creator. She is the sister of Hanan, the deity of the dawn, and Adlaw, who is the god of the sun, and Tala, the goddess of stars. In some mythology, Tala is Mayari's daughter. In one story, Mayari proposed to Apulaki to rule the land equally. However, Apulaki chose to rule as one. This led to a fierce divine war between the two sides, leading to Apulaki taking out one of Mayari's eyes. In a Pampanganit, Bathala died without leaving a will, and Apulaki and Mayari fought over who would rule the earth. Apulaki wanted to rule the earth alone while Mayari insisted on equal rights. The two fought out the conflict with bamboo clubs until Mayari lost an eye. After Apulaki saw what he had done, he agreed to rule the earth together but at different times. However, her light is dimmer than her brother's due to the loss of her eye.
What a fantastic beginning for our Miss Philippine. I love how she interprets every characteristics of Mayari. Moving on for our next entry, let's have her from BSE Social Studies. Please welcome Ms. Peniel Bethel Espedido as the leader who reject violence, Urduha.
In the past, the Philippines consisted of many kingdoms. Before the Spaniards came, there was a famous kingdom that was ruled by a woman named Hara Urduha. We have been led to believe that the only role we should play is a victim. But the truth is like birds of prey. We are a race of royal fighters, of the brave, of the loyal warrior.
Pugutan ng ulo ang tayong lapaktangan na yan! Tataknip! Hindi kailangan ang pagbitay sa dayuhan. Sa halip, siya ay pamahain natin sa mabuting pakikatungo ng ating mga bisita sa Tawanisi. I am Urdu. The victory is ours. I am Urduha. I have to do what it takes to protect my people, to defend my territory. I am Urduha. Killing is out of my league unless driven by principle.
acting skill is really convincing. She's really like a warrior. Anyway, do you know that our third contender is from BSE Filipino, who will also raise her sword as she portrays Urduha? Be amazed with the performance of Miss Christine Joy Atienza.
Princess Urdu.
Urdua is the legendary warrior princess who is recognized as an heroine in Pangasinan, Philippines. The name Urduha appeared to be Sanskrit in origin and a variation of the name Urduya, meaning a rise of the rising sun, or the name Urha, meaning is a breath. Princess Urdu was famous for leading women warriors who were skilled fighters and equestrians. She depended her kingdom through warfare. Her legend as a warrior princess of the kingdom of Tawilisi in Pangasinan mirrors that legend of that Amazon woman in Greek mythology. Urdua's swords is a type of double-edged kampilan, a long sword with a tapered blade being much broader and thinner at the point that it is a base. Princess Urdua was trained in the art of war since she was a child and became an expert in using the kampilan and the skills navigator. Known far and wide, she was famous for leading a team of women warriors who were skilled fighters, quick trans, and expert in weapons. Urdua impressed Ibn Battuta with her military exploit and her ambition to lead an expedition to India, known to her as the Pepper Country, and was famous for leading an army of strong women, warriors adepts in sword fighting and horseback riding called kinalakihan or amas. Urdua was a woman warrior who personally took part in the fighting and engaged in duels with other warriors. And once Urdua said, "I will marry only the man who can defeat me. My husband must be braver, stronger, and wiser than myself. As no one qualified to her demand, she will remain unmarried all her life and still a princess." I am Christine Joy Atienza, aka Princess Urdua in the Philippines. Thank you. And this is my entry for Mr. and Miss Philippine Literature for English Month. Thank you for watching, and I hope you are glad to see my entry. Mabuhay, Philippines!
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Miss Christine Joy Atienza as your sophisticated Urdua. Their costume really suits her very well. But our Urdua fever does not end there, because right now, we still have our third and last impersonation of Urdua. Let's applaud for Miss Resi Sarmiento Angeles as she portrays Urdua.
A long, long time ago, in the ancient islands of the Philippines, there was a beautiful and brave warrior queen named Urdua. She was renowned for her unmatched fighting skills and stunning beauty, which mesmerized everyone who laid eyes on her. Urdua lived in a time of great turmoil, with constant battles and wars between rival tribes and kingdoms. Despite being a woman in a male-dominated society, she led her people into battle with courage and strength. Many kingdoms sought to conquer Urdua's land, but none were successfully in defeating her. She fought fiercely to protect her people and her home, and never backing down from a challenge. But one day, a neighboring kingdom sent a group of their strongest warriors to challenge Urdua to a duel. Welcoming them as a guest in her kingdom. Urdua's beauty and strength inspired many, and her reign as queen continued for many years, with her kingdom flourishing under her wise and just rule. Her legacy as fierce warriors and beloved queen lives on to this day. Queen Ordua, I am a woman, and that is my power.
I think the Orduha fever ends here, partner, because our next contender of Miss Philid will portray the one and only lover of Crisostomo Ibarra, none other than Maria Clara. So let's watch the portrayal of Miss Eliza Lamadora from BSE English.
I am Maria Clara, the only daughter of Capitan Tiago, who is known to many because of wealth he has. My boyfriend is Mr. Crisostomo Ibarra. Ibarra, who cares about the people, but was accused of a sin he did not commit. O Crisostomo Ibarra, my only love, I am very afraid and worried for you, especially when you are excommunicated. I am very sad. I can't stop thinking about what could happen to you. It made my body weak, so I got sick. During my rest, I'd never stop saying the name of my mother that I did not even know. My sadness is increasing more and more, brought by missing my mother and also you, Crisostomo. Gradually, I also got better. My sadness also been relieved that you probably won't be excommunicated. I thought everything was fine. I thought I would be happy again because I would be with you again. But what is it? Who is this man? Who is the new face of young man I see? Linares? Is your name Alfonso Linares de Espadana? And what is it? What is this I heard? Do you want me to marry you? I don't love you. I can't.
I only love Crisostomo. I don't intend to marry anyone if it's not Ibarra. There it got more and more messed up. Little by little, my world was falling apart, especially when you were imprisoned and my marriage to Linares continued. The fact that Father Damaso was my father, who raped my poor mother. Ibarra, please understand my reason. I thought my world was really broken, but little did I know that there was an even worse event ahead. What is this? My love is dead? Why? How? It turns out that my marriage is also gone if you are gone. I don't want to get married. I'd rather die if he's gone. Father, please forgive me. I would like to enter the convent and become a nun. Please, allow me, because otherwise I will kill myself. I'd rather die. I won't forget you, my love. Maybe you'll just stay in your memory, in my memory. Memories. I'm the same. I'd never forgotten you. I even put aside the letter you gave me before you left. I still love you, and only you, Ibarra. Goodbye, my love. Again, I am Maria Clara, symbol of Filipina girl. Leonor Rivera's pictured reconciled with the man she doesn't love.
These entries are definitely fabulous, Miss Phillip, and your beauty and talents are truly remarkable.
Without further ado, let's begin this category by introducing our first year's representatives singing Ang Pipit. It is from BSE English, Junior Sarmiento's group.
There's someone heard a little bird on the nest of the branch of the tree. And the rock hit the wing of the little bird. She won't see much pain. The little bird couldn't fly. And then it happened that it felt up. It sounds like a person's whine. Oh, cruel man, you have no mercy for the little bird. When my life fades away, a little one will cry. There's someone heard a little bird
That's a very lovely performances first years. I suddenly miss the atmosphere of province. Now this is another entries of first year students of BSE English. Now let's give a round of applause for Miss Erica Enejos's group singing Ang Pipi.
Someone hit the bird on the branch of a single tree, and then the rock cut into the wing of the little bird. Because of the pain, he could not allow it to fly. And then what happened? It did fail, but like a person other dream. The man that was cruel, yet he has a heartless soul. When my life passed away, there's someone that will ever cry. Someone hit the bird on the branch of a single tree, and then the rock cut into the wing of the little bird. Because of the pain, he could not allow it to fly. And then what happened? It did fail, but like a person other dream. The man that was cruel, yet he has a heartless soul. When my life passed away, there's someone that will ever cry. Someone hit the bird on the branch of a single tree, and then the rock cut into the wing of the little bird. Because of the pain, he could never allow it to fly. And then what happened? He can fell back like a person utterly. The man that was cruel, yet he has a heartless soul. When the light passed away, there's someone that will ever cry.
Well, all I can say is that this group of students are very talented. We were able to see how they demonstrate the meaning of the song. Moving on, I think that the second years are very excited to present their entry. Are you ready to witness the Paro-Parong Bukid from BSE Social Studies? Let's go!
Oh my god.
walks forward, swaying hips gracefully. Palm butterfly, flying and flitting by in the middle of road, flapping and floating by. 30-inch of wrap around skirt and an inch of sleeves. The vivid skirt is 1 foot dragging on the ground.
And she has a hairnet, also has a hairpin, decorated underskirt. She's trying to show off.
She faced the altar, looking at the mirror. Then, as she walks forward, swaying hips gracefully. Palm butterfly, flying and flitting by in the middle of road, flapping and floating by. 30-inch of wrap around skirt and an inch of sleeves. The vivid skirt is 1 foot dragging on the ground.
Thank you so much, students. We cannot deny that Vincentians are really talented. Do you agree with me, partner? How about you, Vincentians? Do you agree with that? If you say yes, I want to see it in our comment box.
Let us begin with our first illustrated storytelling from PSE Values, Ms. Nadine Gega's group.
Evolution of Philippine literature. What is a Philippine literature? Philippine literature is literature associated with the Philippines from prehistory through its colonial legacies and to the present. Pre-colonial period, early times 1564. The first period of the Philippine literary history is the longest. Pre-colonial literary pieces transferred traditional narratives, speeches, and songs include Sigmo in Cebuano, Bugtong in Tagalog, Patuttodan in Bicol, and Paktokan in Ilonggo. Baybayin was the first writing system in the Philippines. Some modern script in the Philippines descended from Baybayin. Some of the most famous epics from these periods include Biyag ni Lamang, Hinilawod, and Maragtas. Spanish colonization period 1565 to 1863. The Spanish colonial period in the Philippines refers to the time when the Philippines was under the rule of the Spanish Empire, which lasted from 1565 to 1863. This period had a profound impact on Philippine history, culture, and society, and its legacy can still be seen today. Genres and characteristics: secular literature, non-religious literature. A. Awit, colorful tales of chivalry made from singing and chanting, example, Ibong Adarna. B. Corrido, metric tales written in octosyllabic quatrains, example, Florante at Laura. C. Prose narrative written to prescribe proper decorum. 1879, Modesto de Castros, pagsusulatan ng dalawang binibini na si Urbano at Felisa, and Joaquin Tuazon, ang bagong Robinson. Notable Filipinos during the Spanish colonization period in the Philippine literature: Jose de la Cruz, 1746 to 1829, Francisco Baltasar, 1788 to 1862. Nationalistic propaganda and revolutionary period 1864 to 1896. Scandal literature, reformatory and objective. Apolitical essays, satires, editorials, and news articles were written to attack and expose the evils of Spanish rule. 1882, Jaring Tagalog. 1888, La Solidaridad. B. Political novels. 1887, No Limitangere. 1891, El Filibusterismo. Revolutionary literature, more propagandistic than literary as it's more violent in nature and demanded complete independence for the country. Political essays help inflame the spirit of revolutions. 1896, Kalayaan was a newspaper of the Katipunan, which means independence and solidarity, edited by Emilio Jacinto. B. Poetry. 1896, Hibik ng Pilipinas by Andres Bonifacio. 1896, Liwanag at Dilim by Emilio Jacinto. 1898, True Decalogue by Apolinario Mabini.
Rizal and his contemporaries. Jose Rizal, the national hero of the Philippines. In 1896, Mi Ultimo Adios, a poem written by Jose Rizal that was one of the last notes he wrote before his death. American colonization period, 1901 to 1946. Philippine literature in English, as a direct result of American colonization of the country, could not escape being imitative of American models of writing, especially during its period of apprenticeship. Genre and characteristic of American period. First, period of apprenticeship from 1910 to 1930. Letter A, Tagalog novels. From 1906, Banaag at Sikat by Lop K. Santos. B, Romantic poetry, Pag-ibig by Jose Corazon de Jesus. Letter C, short stories. First, 1925, Dead Stars by Paz Marquez Benitez. Second, 1927, The Small Key by Paz La Torrena. Third, 1933, Footnote to Youth by Jose Garcia Beloya. And lastly, 1940, We Filipinos Are Mild Drinkers by Alejandro Roses. In this period, writers were given chance to write in a newspaper. Some of these are, in 1902, Ang Kaluwasan, Cebuano, 1903, Muling Pagsilang, Tagalog, 1934, Makina Ugaligon, Ilonggo, and 1908, Nueva Era, Ilocano.
The best-selling magazine that capitalized on short stories and poems were in 1922, Liwayway Tagalog, 1930, Bisaya in Cebuano, 1934 in Hiligaynon, Ilonggo, and 1934 in Banawag, Ilonggo.
Genre and characteristic in Japanese period. A. Warriors from 1942 to 1944. In 1943, 25 pinakambuting maikling kathang Pilipino, Suyuan sa Tubigan by Macario Pineda. First, Lupang Tinubuan by Narciso Reyes. Second, Uhaw na Tigang Lupa by Liwaywar Arceo. B. Period of maturity and originality from 1945 to 1960. A. Blanca Awards for Literature, established in 1950. First, Jose Rizal Villa. Second, Nick Joaquin. Third, NBP Gonzalez. Fourth, Bienveni dos Santos. Fifth, Gregorio Brillantes. And lastly, Gilda Cordero Fernandez.
After we talk about the Japanese colonization, we will now go in the Republic period in the 1960 to 1985. So here are some of the notable works written by Filipinos. First is The Horizon List, a collection of works by the professors of UE named Artemio Pataxil and Silverio Baltazar. The themes of their works or most of their poems dealt with the usual love of nature and of social and political problems. So after The Horizon List in 1967, another novel became famous titled Mga Ibong Mandaragit by Amado V. Hernandez in 1969. It talks about the socio-political aiming to break free from the oppressions of the powerful rich and the greedy of society. Contemporary period or the modern period in 1986 up to present. In 1986, the action of martial law by President Ferdinand Marcos last September 21, 1972, this not only oppressed writers to free expression but also created conditions that made collaboration and cooperation convenient choices of artists struggling for recognition and survival. And in 1997, sa ngalan ng Inabay Prize-winning poet critic Lilia Quindosa Santiago wins the most comprehensive compilation of feminist writing in the Philippines. In 1998, many are writing novels. As fictionist Ronnie Diaz noted as judge, he had read 350 novel entries for the Philippine Centennial Literary Contest in 1998, and in 2000s, many novels in English seem to have been written in literary contests like Balanca and Asha Man. In 2010, the debate over textual and contextual criticism, balagtasismo and modernism, formalism and historical criticism has persisted to this day in the academy. The more popular but banal issue is called literature, also known as art and propaganda. The genre and characteristics. Things that were used and exercised during the contemporary period are onomatopoeia, the use of words that imitate the sound associated with the objects or action they refer to. Message in poetry, the idea about life that a poet writes about it calls the theme or the message of the poem. Free verse, a poem that has no regular rhyme nor rhythm. Cause and effect relationship, using adjective is a word that describes limits, points out of noun, and making clear and correct comparison.
Good job, freshmen, for that informative entry. Next to our illustrated storytelling is from the group of Miss Adeline Cabales, freshman from BSc English. Let's watch this.
Philippines is home to a rich literary tradition that has evolved over centuries, from the pre-colonial period to the contemporary era. Philippine literature reflects the country's history, culture, and values. Let's take a journey through time and explore the highlights of the evolution of Philippine literature. The pre-colonial period was a time of oral tradition. Filipino ancestors shared stories, myths, and legends through oral performances. These stories were often infused with spiritual and moral lessons. During this period, epics like Hinalawod and Biaglangan were created. These epics were often chanted or sung and told tales of heroic deeds, love, and adventure. The Spanish colonial period began in the 16th century and lasted for more than 300 years. During this time, the Spanish language and Catholic religion were introduced to the Philippines. The Spanish colonization greatly influenced Philippine literature. The most notable literary works during this period were the Awit and Corridor. The American colonial period started in 1898 and lasted until 1946. American colonization brought about significant changes in Philippine literature. During this time, writers started to write in English, which became the language of instruction in schools. Some of the most significant literary works during this period were the novels of Jose Garcia Villa, who was known for his avant-garde style of writing. It's important to note that between the Spanish colonial period and the American colonial period, the Philippines was under Japanese occupation during World War II. The Japanese colonization lasted for 3 years, from 1942 to 1945, and greatly affected the country's literary output during that time. Some of the most famous literary works during the Japanese occupation in the Philippines reflected the Philippines' struggle for freedom and independence during that time. After the war, Philippine literature flourished as the country regained its independence, and writers were free to express themselves in their native languages. The post-war period saw the emergence of different literary movements, such as the Philippine Literary Arts Council and the Iligan National Writers Workshop. Some notable literary works during the post-war period include Nick Joaquin's The Summer Solstice, which explored the complexities of human. The contemporary period is characterized by the diversity of literary works in the Philippines. Filipino writers now use different languages and mediums to express their thoughts and ideas. Some notable literary works during this period include Nick Joaquin's The Woman Who Had Two Nasals, which explored the complexities of Philippine identity. From the pre-colonial period down to the contemporary period, Philippine literature has evolved and adapted to the changing times. It continues to be a reflection of the Filipino identity and the country's rich cultural heritage.
What an educative presentation from Miss Adeline Cabiles Group. And now for our third and last contender, Let's clap our hand for Mr. Janus Maderado's group from first year BSc English.
During the pre-colonial period, literature in the Philippines includes the engagement of indigenous people with various cultures. Different literary forms are inclusive in different regions. Baybayin is the writing system that has been used by the Filipino people before the Spanish colonization. Every region in the Philippines have their own riddles, folk songs, legends, epics, and fables, or what we call the folk tales.
When Spaniards came, there was an immediate shift of the focus of that literature. It became centered on a Christian faith, and the stories about natural phenomena suddenly became all about the life of saints and other religious hymns. Slowly, the Filipino literature started to emulate the traditional Spanish ways of themes and forms in writings, including the repetitive plots and obvious shadowy character. Despite these changes, Filipinos still found a way to make Spanish literature as their own, like corrido, passion, sinaculo, zarzuela, and many more. With much more than 300 years of colonization, we can't help but to realize that Spain brought to the country through at a much later time to liberal ideas and internationalism that influenced Filipino intellectuals and writers.
Is this what is behind the national revolt that shaped the Philippines as it's today? Let us unreveal the history and look back to the year where it's all began. The propaganda movement was a cultural organization formed in 1872 by Filipino expatriates in Europe, composed of the Filipino elite called ilustrados, ideal rebellers, and students attending Europe. Universities gravitate to the movement. This movement is aggressive but peaceful by means of writing and speeches. These crusade for reforms to rectify the evils of the Spanish colonial system.
Philippine literature during the American rule, 1898 to 1945, has two factors, first of which is education. With the Americans providing free education, many were given the chance to study, and English was used as the language of instructions. Unlike the Spanish, the foreigners were willing to teach their language to the Filipinos. Free education served as the stepping stone for others to improve their social status. Early literacy works in the English shown styles of which in American can also be seen that writers who just started learning English cannot fully showcase their talent because of the lack of mystery of the language. The Japanese period of Philippine literature 1941 to 1945. Historical background. Between 1941 to 1945, Philippine literature was interrupted in its development when the Philippines was again conquered by another foreign country, Japan. Philippine literature in English came to the halt except for the Tribune and the Philippine Review. Almost all newspapers in English were stopped by the Japanese. This had an advantageous effect. Filipino literature was experienced renewed attention because writers in English turned into writing in Filipino.
Literature during the contemporary period. We became free from the invaders on July 4, 1946. We do have 5 remarkable periods during the contemporary era. The first one is the rebirth of freedom, whereas the chains have been broken and we became free. The next period is the period of activism, which took place from 1970 to 1972. The next period that took place was the period of the New Society. It started on September 21, 1972. The fourth is the period of the Third Republic, which took place from 1981 to 1985. And lastly, the period from 1986 to 1999.
Those are very illuminating entries for our evolution of Philippine literature. Congratulations, Vincentians!
Now we have reached the final and arguably the most intense part of this program, the talking heads. Right off the bat, let me introduce to you our first entry from BSE Social Studies second year. She portrays an author and a senator. Please welcome Ms. Jamie Lou P. Bagachulon as Miriam Defensor Santiago.
The Talking Heads, the Hero Heroines POV.
How will you encourage or inspire the Filipino youth to appreciate the importance of Philippine literature?
Good day, everyone. My name is Jamie Lupi Bagacholon, aka Miss Miriam Defensor Santiago. I'm from second year, BSED Social Studies. Being a Filipino, I want to inspire and motivate everyone by pointing out the value of Philippine literature and how it teaches us important insights on what to remember and comprehend. Philippine literature also has a significant influence on us since it emphasizes the need of learning about various cultures, beliefs, and circumstances so that we might be inspired in our own work and as Filipinos who were raised here anyway. And as Filipino, we should also be proud of who we are since we grew up knowing Filipino is very approachable in this kind of literature. Why doesn't someone pay attention to the fact that when Filipino literature such as poems and other writing is produced, you can surely say, I am proud of being Filipino for this. This is my significance as a Filipino, is looking toward a bright future and the great nation we grew up in. Our inspiration in this generation is Dr. Jose Rizal. The students who study his story and reflect on the past fell in love with each character and instance they read about. Since every contributions made by the journalists and heroes who are well known in our nation has expanded through time, and what I said for back then is now becoming popular. And don't be scared about it, because this is how we can recognize it. First, we should provide others with an appreciation of how to enjoy the importance of Philippine literature in a comparable way. First, introduce Philippine literature in the school. Schools might include Philippine literature in their curriculum to introduce pupils to the breadth and diversity of our literary legacy. It can be incorporated into teaching speaking, literature classes, or even social studies program to achieve this. Second, make literature available to young people by giving them access to printed books, electronic books, and other literary materials. Online resources, school libraries, and public libraries can all be used for this. Third, promote reading by incorporating it into your everyday routine to get young people interested in this literature. This can be accomplished by designated a dedicated time for reading, starting book groups, or even giving readers rewards. And promote local talent by presenting the creation of Filipino authors, poets, and painters. Fourth, making Filipino literature accessible, current, and pleasant for young people is crucial. By doing this, we may motivate children to become ardent readers and writers themselves, and help them understand the range and depth of Philippine literature. At the end of this, it's critical to acknowledge the worth of Filipino literature and encourage young people to respect and conserve it for coming generation. And that's all. Thank you.
That's a very convincing speech for our first entry of the Talking Heads. Moving on for our second contender of this category, She is going to introduce herself as the bravest or one of the bravest women we had in the history and the only one wife of Diego Silang. Do you know who she is? Let's watch the bravest speech of Miss Mary Rose Milieza, BSc English, aka Gabriela Silang.
So it's 2023 and it's been 260 years since we last fought for the Filipinos. Yes, we fought for you, all of you, long before you were born, long time ago. I'm not even sure if you still remember my beloved husband, Diego Silang, or if you remember me. I am Maria Josefa Gabriela Carino Silang, or you can call me Gabriela Silang. Fast forward, I'm back for a message. A message that embodies our dreams, our hopes, and the very reasons why we fought hard for you and took risks, despite the possibilities of being overthrown or losing everything that we have. And yes, we may have died on our toes, but we would rather have that than live on our knees. And now, I tell you, the battle is ought to continue. Battlefields nowadays are no longer down the valleys, nor up the hills and the mountains. Bolos, daggers, knives, and spears, they are no longer symbol of dignity and valor. Times have changed, and so have we. I encourage all of you, yes, all of you, the Filipino youth, the country's heirs, and our future leaders, to step up and speak up. We have a new enemy. There is an intruder. There is a threat. Our country's culture, our heritage, they're all under attack. Now, can we pause for a while, step back, and think? Now tell me, what do you know about our country's treasures? No, I'm not pertaining to gold, silver, copper, or anything that we're mining. I'm not pertaining either to whatever's in your pocket or your savings. I would like to know, how much do you know your Filipino roots? Think. Pause. Now, tell me, when was the last time you've taken the time to appreciate the Filipino writers, authors, poets, and all those who had the courage, creativity, and candor to tell the stories of the past, the present, the good and the bad, and everything in between? And those people who have followed the lead of Gat Jose Rizal, those who believe that the pen is mightier than the sword, have we given enough credits to those who opened their eyes, to those who opened their eyes to what reality is, how painful poverty is, and how filthy politics is, and how much people are willing to sacrifice for wealth, influence, and power? Well, I've heard that we've been blessed with literary geniuses. Our forefathers must have been proud, really proud. I've learned that these geniuses have crafted masterpieces that narrated how compelling life has been. Let me see. Amado V. Hernandez, Luwalhati Bautista, Lope K. Santos, Nick Joaquin, and Francisco Balagtas. Interesting. Oh, you did not know them? Poor child. That's a grave sin. That shouldn't be the case. It is our responsibility to know and embrace our very own. After all, who are we expecting to continue this genius's legacy? My dear children, my dear Filipino youth, you are more than just a child. You are our hope. Our dreams live in you. You are our salvation. We, the fallen heroes, have bequeathed you with freedom, gallantry, and virtue. May these be your weapons to fight for what is right, to resist the unreasonable, and to persist the motherland's glory. We stand by you, and we believe in you.
Very well said, Generala. It just shows how women are capable of doing everything, even in literature. With that being said, let us give way for our next contestant from PSE English 2nd year, Miss Jasmine Ubalde as Paz Marquez Benitez.
I, Paz Marquez Benitez, a teacher, writer, and editor who advocates Filipino women's rights to education and established schools, educational magazine, and contributed to the development of creative short story writing courses in the Philippines, whose words led to literary breakthrough, who inspires generation of Filipino writers. Ironically, there are a lot of Filipino citizens who needs help of understanding and speaking our own language, because they're more exposed to the English language through videos, internet, and the likes. And there are Filipinos who perceive themselves as very lowly compared to other nations. In their comforts of their home, there are more foreign books than the local ones. And it affects how we perceived as a Filipino. But being a Filipino is a beautiful thing. A beauty that we cannot deny. We have a lot to offer. Our community, our culture, the values, and ourselves, the identity of being a Filipino. But first, we need to give importance to our Philippine literature. But how can we give importance to something that we don't understand? Philippine literature let us trace the rich heritage of ideas handed down to us from our forefathers that take pride in being a Filipino. Filipino literature let us understand who we are as a Filipino, and it shows our identity and values. Reading Filipino literature makes readers aware and knowledgeable about one's culture, thus establishing a deeper appreciation to it. And the more we appreciate our own culture, the easier it is to anchor our citizenship as a Filipino. The more you read, the more you imbibe values that are innately ours. Also, Philippine literature gives us the idea of the current status of our country. Because Filipino writers gives readers the reality of the situation of what is happening. And the more we understand our issue, the more we can take actions. A lot of Filipino youths keep intervening to politicals and laws about how things should be done. But first, to be involved is to be informed. And how can you be informed if you're not reading Philippine literature? Because Philippine literature takes us back to the path where our ancestors walked for us to be able to understand what has been done and what should be done. Reading empowers us with knowledge and the ability to make a change. And sometimes, as we progress to compete globally, there are times that we compromise our own identity as a Filipino. And one way of keeping our country's identity, history, culture, and values is through giving importance of the Philippine literature. You youth of today, how do you empower yourself as a Filipino? How do you take pride of being a Filipino?
What a notable speech, Miss Jasmine Balde. We will fly now to the time of our heroes. Let's see how we can be convinced. Are you ready? Let's watch the entry of Mr. Paul Carrillo, aka Dr. Jose P. Rizal.
How will you encourage or inspire the Filipino youth to appreciate the importance of Philippine literature?
How can I inspire others to like Philippine literature? If only Dr. Jose Rizal is here, maybe he can help me in this question.
Buenos días, hijo. I am Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado, y Alonso, y Alonda. Just Dr. Jose Rizal in short. I hear your whims and questions about how can I encourage the Filipino youth to appreciate the importance of our Philippine literature. Bueno, let's take a seat and I'll tell you how can we inspire them and let them appreciate the importance of the Philippine literature. By using my own principles on the books that I've wrote. Vámonos! Filipino literature tells us our own tales and features, characters that readers are most likely to encounter in our own community. Children can better familiarize themselves with our culture by using stories and literature. Reading Filipino literature increases the numbers of awareness of knowledge of their own culture, deepening their enthusiasm for it. It is easier for them to firmly establish their citizenship as Filipinos, the more they value their own culture. Our kids will appreciate the richness of our language more if we read them the works of Filipino literature. They may learn to understand how lovely and precious it is to communicate using one's dialect or language. If you remember, I always said, he who does not love his own language is worse than an animal and a smelly fish. I do believe that in this little step forward, our country will develop and flourish by loving what we have. We can appreciate and learn from the rich history, human experience, and emotions found in the Philippine literature. Through these literary works, we can also be able to find inspiration and ideas for our own writing. Maybe one day you will be the next Jose Rizal, enhancing and cultivating our own literary works that may be shared and continued to the future. Looks like my time is running out. Better get off before the Guardia Civil captures me again. Bueno, adios, hijo.
I think Dr. Jose Rizal wants all of us to appreciate more of our own literature.
Of our very own God Jose Rizal. A well-executed portrayal. Now let's move on to the second actor that played Paz Marquez Benitez. Our fifth contender from BSc English Department, Miss Norin Amante.
Did you ever have to choose between something you wanted to do and something you had to do? That was the question I cited at one of the famous social media platforms 98 years after I had written Dead Stars. I remember that it was the first modern Philippine short story in English, an evocative, complex, and painful yet eye-opener kind of book that I want to share with Filipino youth as I know what their interests are. Way before Hugot became the Hugot we recognize today, 1925 was the year when Dead Stars reached the reader's mind and concede that it was that kind of Hugot back then. It says, in those days, love was for him, still the eternal puzzle for love as he knew it, was a stranger to love as he divined it might be. But why did I write a book about a man and the affairs of his heart? Why did I come up with a story concerning forbidden love and the romance between three people that creates a conflict such as the fidelity of dreams? The answers must be answered by those who can appreciate the Philippine literature. As a writer, educator, and someone who gave birth to modern Philippine writing in English, how would we allow a person to step back in time, learn about the Filipino culture, and reminisce nostalgic feelings if there's no such thing as a literature? It was the best way to express oneself, to write memories in a figurative, imaginative, and creative approach, and to be able to read a story full of lessons, hope, learnings, and knowledge. To be able to be part of a narrative with emotions attached and insights as well. Now, I wanted to go back to my question a while ago. Did you ever have to choose between something you wanted to do and something you had to do? I ask this for the reason that one of my characters is torn of answering this question. Alfredo is engaged with Esperanza, but later on, he had hesitations in marrying her, not to mean he is afraid of commitment, but because he fell in love with another woman, Julia. Is he ready to choose between something he wanted to do, living a life with the girl he believes he is in love with, or something he had to do, marrying someone he is engaged with? A dream of romance with Julia, but later on realized that it was actually a dead star. A very confusing plot and a tough decision to make, yet brought a lot of realizations to the readers. How about the youth? These kinds of plot and storylines easily catch the attention and appreciation of them. Let us not waste the moment of opening the mind of each and everyone just by the power of pen and pages. So why don't we try to write our own stories, with our own plot and our own endings, our own fantasies, romance, and chosen adventures. Hold your pen freely and make some pages the moment you wanted to write. The circumstances, public and moral obligations tackled in the story is the main reason why I chose to publish it. For teenagers to know that literacy is not just about bringing back the past or learning about historical events that already happened, but the significance of knowing one's work of art in reading. The wistful and sentimental feelings of interpretation of every letter, every word that is written, and the exceptional journey we are taking in every path of the poems and stories we are reading. I would like to introduce myself before I end this travel of time. I am Paz Marquez Benitez, and I am the woman whose words led to a literary breakthrough.
Thank you so much, Ms. Noreen Amante, for another Paz Marquez Benitez speech. For our last but not the least entry, raising her voice and her braveness in the history, let's watch the another entry of Gabriela Silang, portrayed by Miss Ruth Bensurto, third-year student from BSE English. I want you to know more about me. I want you
Thank you so much for all the participants of the Talking Heads. We have witnessed how talented Vincentians truly are. Once again, congratulations to all of you.
Breaking your excitement to the most exciting part of this event, let's get serenaded first to the intermission number of SVFC Seska Himi Corral singing the song Love with Tricky Feet, arranged by Sir Anton Pelicane. What a lovely intermission number. Thank you so much, SVFC Seska Himik Coral, for sharing this wonderful song in this event. And I know you can't hide your excitement to see the results of the winners in each categories we had today. So, hold your seat tight because it's awarding time.
Raise your flag, second year placer, Mr. Paul Cardillo of BSE Social Studies as Dr. Jose P. Rizal.
Your sword won the battle. A round of applause to our first placer, Miss Ruth Bensurdo as Gabriela Silang of BSE English.
Congratulations to all the winners and non-winners of this event. Your enthusiasm to join the English Month celebration is so admirable.
You're right, partner. You are all truly talented and skillful Vincentians. And as we end this event, I'd like to leave these lines from our national hero, Dr. Jose P. Rizal. He says, "To foretell the destiny of a nation, it is necessary to open the books of stories that tell his past and let its seeds grow as inspiration. Let us not forget the remarkable events and people in our history. Embrace them in our Philippine literature."
Again, thank you very much, Vincentians, and until next time, adios!